Hi, welcome back. Focal Point AFR Talk. Great to have you in the conversation. Tell you every day we're fighting a winnable war. Got a winnable war moment from the state of Arkansas. The Arkansas legislature has overridden a veto. The Democratic governor there vetoed a pro-life bill that would prohibit abortions following the 20th week of pregnancy. That's when a baby in the womb, we have demonstrable medical scientific proof that babies in the womb at age 20 weeks are capable of feeling pain. And so this bill, very common sense bill, you can't kill a baby after it can feel pain. So after 20 weeks, no abortions. The governor, Democratic governor, vetoed the thing. I mean, you imagine the callousness, the coldness, the indifference, the inhumanity of a governor would say, no, I'm not going to protect unborn babies from pain. I'm just fine with them experiencing the pain of being dismembered in the wombs of their mothers. I mean, that's Nazi-esque. But anyway, the legislature, both the Senate and the House, have overridden that veto, and the Arkansas, and it's got an emergency clause, so it's in effect. As you and I are talking right now, that bill is in effect. So Arkansas is now a safer place for unborn babies than it was yesterday, thanks to the pro-life forces there and the state legislature. And the Senate also voted 26-8 in support of a bill, a heartbeat bill, and this basically would ban abortions after the 12th week of pregnancy. You know, we say abortion stops a beating heart. It does. And so this bill that the Arkansas Senate has passed is going over to the House, and it passed 26-8. So if it passes with similar majority in the House, they likewise could override a veto on this, but it just protects a baby after its heartbeat can be detected on an abdominal monitor. So that's our winnable war moment for the day. Then you got this bizarre thing, Hunter College in New York City. You got kids in the cafeteria there, and they were playing this game. It was called Abortion Battle. And what they would do is they would inflate balloons, put the balloons under their blouses or shirts so they'd have a bulge, and then they would have this game where you would try to puncture that balloon with a plastic fork. And they had students, and pretend you're pregnant, and the other students have a plastic fork, and they're going to try to kill the baby by puncturing the balloon. And you had students standing around, kill that baby. Just do it. That's up on YouTube now, so that is pretty disgraceful and disgusting. Now, one last clip before we go to the phones, 888-589-8840. Here's Chris Matthews about Hillary Clinton, and they're completely abandoning any sense of objectivity. Here is Chris Matthews talking about, remember, he fancies himself a journalist. He's an objective journalist. He's a professional. It's not his job to take sides. It's his job to report the news. Let's listen.
Now, I think if she runs again, she really can't run as that front runner. It cannot be that inevitability campaign that she ran in 2007, and she knows that. She's got to be about the future.
If you're watching, Madam Secretary, all three of us have brilliant ideas. All of us have brilliant ideas, and I especially put myself in that group with Joan and David. We know how to do this. We'll get you in there.
So, Chris Matthews, I mean, he's already dedicated himself to be a minister of propaganda for Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. You know, they've got these in-kind contributions. You get in-kind contributions, you have to declare them. And so technically, Chris Matthews ought to report every time he says a nice thing about Hillary Clinton. That ought to go on her political statement as an in-kind contribution. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Bill in Killeen, Texas. Bill, thanks for calling and thanks for waiting. What's on your mind?
I was going to make a comment. When the president's making a statement and using the words devastating, talking about what's going to happen with people if the sequestration falls through, he is telling the American people that his policies are a failure because everything that he has done has been, according to him, to help the lower class or to help the middle class. So if this small percentage of money is taken away, and it's going to devastate hundreds of thousands of people's lives, then he is saying my administration policies are a fail.
Well, you know, and that's an interesting observation to make, Bill. And, you know, the reality is even President Obama, let's grab clip 5 if we can, Rob, before we go to Shay, you know, to follow up on what you're saying, Bill. Now, the Republicans have called President Obama's bluff on this sequester. The sequester is going through. These are not cuts, remember. This is a reduction in the rate of growth. That's all this is. There are no cuts. Federal government's going to spend more money next year than they spent last year. The Pentagon is going to spend more money next year than it spent last year, even with the sequester. It's just all hype. It's all Chicken Little. You heard that at the top of the hour, the little teaser that Jeff provided at the top of the hour. It's just all Chicken Little. Sky is falling. Sky is falling. Run for your lives. But now that the Republicans have called President Obama's bluff, then even President Obama is sending a different tune, because everybody's realizing now that's going to go into effect. And we had that lobbyist saying, look, the worst possible thing that could happen is for the sequester cuts, quote, end quote, to go into effect and nothing bad happens, because we've been trying to scare people into raising taxes and making capitulations based on all this fear and this hysteria. It's the Mayan apocalypse. And if Sequestration Day, which is tomorrow, it comes and goes. I mean, midnight tonight, these supposed draconian cuts are going to happen. And everybody's going to wake up tomorrow, and the birds are going to be out, and the sun's going to come up, and the sun is going to be shining, and everybody's going to say, what happened? I thought it was the end of the world. So even the liberals now, they know that they were lying to us. They were deceiving us. They were trying to fool us. They know it. And now, so they don't want to look like absolute morons. President Obama doesn't want to look like an absolute moron. So even the liberals now are backing completely away from the hysteria. They've been stoking it for weeks. Here is a piece from The Hill by a liberal writer. Says this: meanwhile, the White House is backing off its prior warnings that the sequester will strike a quick and devastating blow to the economy. This is a piece by Alexander Bolton. A senior GOP aide on Wednesday highlighted news reports that Obama's political advisors now concede the cuts will not immediately disrupt federal services. Obama's finally telling you what you've known for weeks because you listened to this program. We've been telling you from day one, this is all hype. It's all imaginary. It's all scaremongering. It's all scare tactics. And now finally, Obama and the left-wing media are even admitting it, even though they don't realize that that's what they're admitting. Obama's political advisors are trying to manage public expectations in the wake of dire warnings. They know they've got a PR problem. The roof's going to fall in. What happens if the roof doesn't fall in? They got a PR problem. Policy experts say the sky won't fall on Friday, and the public may not notice the impact for weeks or even months. Here's a quote from Lauren Adler, senior policy analyst at the Bipartisan Policy Center. Usually anything that says bipartisan, that means it's liberal. The key takeaway, he says, is on March 1 or March 5, no doors will be closed, no lights will be turned off. It will take a little while for these cuts to take effect. Most unpaid furloughs of government workers will not begin until April. Defense Department employees will not see furloughs until the end of the month. Passenger screenings at airports will suffer little effect as well. Scott Lilly, a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, these people are so far left, they're virtually in their own orbit, said this: I have found very few agencies that are going to make changes in March. And then here's the National Journal, another left-wing deal. And here is the title of the piece. I won't even read much of the piece to you. The title is all you need to know. National Journal, left-wing organ, the overhyped, overblown, and overly politicized sequester fears. So here's a liberal guy, two of them, Niraj Chokshi and Nancy Cook, writing this piece together, and they're saying this sequester stuff, all the fears are overhyped, they are overblown, and they are overly politicized. And here is Barack Obama, clip number 5. Here's Barack Obama. He's talking last night to the Business Council dinner at Washington, and he agrees. This whole thing is hype. The sky is not going to fall tomorrow, despite everything I have been telling you for months. Let's listen.
I should point out, and I'm sure you've heard from a number of experts and economists, that this is not a cliff, but it is a tumble downward. It's conceivable that in the first week, the first 2 weeks, first 3 weeks, first month, that unless your business is directly related to the Defense Department, unless you live in a town that is directly impacted by a military installation, unless you're a family that now is trying to figure out where to keep your kids during the day because you just lost a Head Start slot. A lot of people may not notice the full impact of this sequester.
So a lot of people aren't even going to notice. And this is the president of the United States been trying to scare us out of our minds for the last month. He's saying most people are not even going to notice. This is the president, the guy that tried to scare the pants off of us, now saying, hey, nothing to see here, move along. The immediate impact, according to the National Journal, of the sequester is absolutely overhyped, says Steve Bell, Senior Director for Economic Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center. Quote, a sequester will occur, and the next day, the likelihood is that no one will know it even started. So why all the shouting? Much of the doomsday talk is just old-fashioned politics. Let's grab a phone call. Let's go to Shay, Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Shay, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Fashion politics. Let's grab a phone call. Let's go to Shay.
Shay, let me have you turn your radio down so we can chat.
Welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Shay, are you with me? Okay, you have to let Shay go. If we can hang on, we can get him after the break. Let's grab a call from David in Chesterfield, Virginia.
Hello?
David, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Brian, I'm sorry about that. I enjoy your show, and I really believe your Christian values. Thank you, sir.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
What is your gut feeling about what's going to happen once Obamacare is fully implemented? I mean, do you think that the voters who vote for him, I mean, do you think that we're going to turn against him? Or, the ones who are on his side, do you think they're going to abandon him? Or what do you think is going to happen?
Well, that's a good call, David, and thank you for the question. And, I think there's going to be a revolt, not only among Republicans, but also among Democrats. Remember, this whole thing is going to roll out January 1, 2014. These Democrats have to stand for re-election in November of 2014. They're going to be going home to furious, angry constituents. What happened to my health care? I've lost my health care. My employer dropped me. My employer dumped my wife. My premiums are going through the roof. I can't get in to see a doctor. What has happened? Democrats are going to turn on Obama. Focal Point AFR Talk.